spot, so I'll try not to make it boring. And I would love to connect with all of you just as a normal human. So I haven't prepared like a formal set-in-stone speech. The reason I wanted to come here is because I just wanted to see if there's any one soul out here who can connect with me on a human level, and to see if my story can inspire even a single person or not. Because I think as humans, we do have more commonalities as compared to differences, but in this chaotic time where we're living in, sometimes we forget the importance and the beauty of our similarities. We tend to focus more on our differences, and that's what it kind of tears us apart, right? So we need to stay true to our values as a human, and I believe that collective approach can help us all achieve our goals. So a little about me, who I am, and what do I do. So as of now, I'm working as an ambassador of the United Nations to the public at the Department of Global Communications at the UN headquarters in New York City, and I'm the only Pakistani working at the Guided Tours Unit. So I do get to talk about the work, history, structure, and relevance of the United Nations in their current role. So basically, whenever people from all across the world, they come to visit the UN headquarters in New York City, I show them around, I show them around the General Assembly Hall, the Security Council, and also connecting the dots that how is UN staying relevant in their current role. I get to deal with different ambassadors, different diplomats, but at the same time, I try to stick to my roots from where I come from, and that's Pakistan. I try to portray the positive image of Pakistan to my given ability. And what I do is I try to wear our beautiful attire, shalwar kameez, and whenever I do wear that at UN, I do get asked about it from different visitors that, which culture is this from? Where are you coming from? Because sometimes when we're living in our country, we tend to forget the beauty of our culture, the elegance and dignity that it holds. So I try to do that at my level. And last year, I also took the initiative of launching the UN Guided Tour in Urdu language. So that was not done up till now at the Ministry of the UN. So I took that initiative, and for that, I was acknowledged by the Permanent Ambassador of Pakistan to the United Nations, Mr. And when, in the past 5 years, I would see that there would be different delegations coming to the UN, and they would be talking in their indigenous language, right? And even sometimes the heads of states from Pakistan, they would opt for English as their tool of communication, whereas they can easily use Urdu to communicate with the global community. And people, they can bring their own interpreters. UN has 6 official languages, but of course, Urdu is not part of that. So while seeing that, I thought that there needs to be something done regarding that. And when COVID started, I used that opportunity. I think it was a blessing in disguise for me that I got that time to work on Urdu tour, because it's not easy. I did not have anyone to coach me, so it was more of a self-help work, right? Now, if I go back to my history of life, that's how I got to where I am today. This career, this opportunity, it was not served on a plate to me. I had to work for it. And a little about my family background. I'm the only child. I don't have any siblings. So I do get to hear that stereotypical comment from most of the people that, you're the only child, you must be very pampered, right? You must have lots of privileges. I wouldn't completely deny that, but I would say that the credit goes to my parents, because wherever they needed to be strict, they were strict. And wherever they wanted to be the permission to do things, they were there for me. So in them, I found my 2 best friends, my parents. So how I learned about the UN. So when I was 15 years old, in 2010, when I was in my, I think in my 10th grade, I got to know that there's this movement of lungs bought in the United Nations, as all of us might be aware of, that's taking place, and I was basically selected by my teachers to go there. And when I went there, I was just a shy and timid and quiet kid sitting there observing what's happening around me. And I did not even know that in this world, there exists an organization like the United Nations in the world. So that the basic ideology of the UN back in time, me being a naive kid, it really attracted me that, wow, there's a platform in the world where all of the member states, despite their differences, they can come together, have a one platform, and discuss their ideologies and try to come up to a common solution, which even seems hard as individuals at times. It's very hard for us to have one same ideology. So that was really attractive to me, and I did not know the realities of the system back in time. So then in 2011, I participated in my second UN conference. That was at Beacon House School in Faisalabad, and that was the first time, because I went there while I was prepared. I did my research, and I still remember I was assigned a committee, United Nations Development Program DP. So while proposing pragmatic solutions, I basically won my first ever Best Delegate Award back in 2011. So when I won that award, that feeling of being rewarded, that kind of motivated me to do that thing more in life. It became sort of an addiction to participate in N1s. And then that happened in 2012. I participated in the N1. In 2013, I did that again. And I kept on winning the Best Delegates Award every year. So in that moment, I realized that this is my calling. If I'm good at my extracurricular, I should turn that into my main academics. And my father is a doctor, right? And me being the only kid was expected from the society that I would carry on the legacy of my father, that I would automatically become a doctor. And to be honest, without realizing my true potential, this is what I wanted to do up till the age of 16, right? I would see my father go to the clinic with the lab coat and stethoscope, and I thought that's a very a noble profession, I would love to do that. And right from the childhood, I've been good at things to which I can connect to as a human. And when I had sciences in my O levels and my A levels, I was very good in theoretical subjects, and I still remember when I was in grade 10, I got the best in biology certificate because that was a subject I could relate to as a human, right? But when the time for A levels came, me and my father, we sat down, we had a serious talk, and my father was like, there's no pressure for you to do or carry on this profession just because I'm a doctor. You do know that it requires a lot of commitment, it requires a certain tempo, and me being your father, I know your personality. You cannot sit at one place and study for long hours. You become more of a social butterfly and you enjoy interactive learning. So you should do what you're best at. So I was like, that's true. That even though I had pre-medical at the time, I was like, I should opt for something related to social science, and that's when I ended up opting for international relations and my undergraduate program. And that's the time I'm talking about in 2013. Right now in the world, there are so many opportunities, so many countless fields that we had not even heard of back in time. So at the time, there was still this basic conventional thought of that, for ladies, medical is the safe profession in Pakistan, and for guys, you have to go for engineering. But back in time, my parents, they were really supportive. They were like, do what you're best in, and just follow your heart. So, I really thank my parents for giving me that flexibility and providing me that opportunity that I could follow my heart and do what I was good at. So then the time for international relations came for my bachelor's, and in 2013, I was selected to represent Pakistan at All Asia Pacific Multilingual Educational Conference in Thailand. And then in 2014, when I went to Turkey, basically that was at the Model United Nations Istanbul, and that was the time when I won my first ever International Best Delegate Award. So I saw that opportunity as another writing on the wall, that okay, you're shifted from pre-medical to international relations, now what you should be doing with your life, and that was my calling, that if virtually or as a model, if I'm good at something, I should actualize that into my real life. From that moment onwards, I made that my goal, that I want to end up working as a professional for the United Nations, because its core values and what I was studying in my academics really resonated with my thinking. And at that time, while I was studying in Faisalabad related to political science, there weren't many opportunities. So I was like, if I have to get to the UN, I need to also have a professional experience. And I adore the city, and there are other opportunities related to textile and industry, but for my field, there weren't any. So I had to carve my path. So when the time for summer vacation came, he said I wanted to work at the institute. So he interviewed me and he hired me. He was like, can you join from tomorrow? I was like, if you could please give me a day, I need to arrange my accommodation in Islamabad. So I worked with him for a couple of months, and I consider him my mentor, because with him, I honed and I polished my research skills. And 4 of my policy papers, they were basically published on their website. They were at the time about Millennium Development Goals, Sustainable Development Goals, and also about the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. In 2015, that was a very new initiative in Pakistan. After that, I went for another internship with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at the UN Division. So you have to see here that how I was trying to be strategic towards my goal. Even while interning at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I was looking for a way to get to the UN system. So I basically volunteered to intern at the UN Division, not anywhere else. So those 2 experiences, even though they were unpaid internships, so I had my parents to thank them for that they were financially supporting me. I was able to gain that experience. And at the time, I had other students, they were like, I would not do an unpaid internship. Well, of course, money is the ultimate goal, because that's the mode of survival we need in this world. But sometimes we have to weigh the cost-benefit analysis. Just like one of the speakers was telling me, that if an opportunity presents itself, we must be strong and wise enough to grab it. And that's what I did in the future. Those experiences didn't pay me off. So after my undergraduate, came the time for my master's, my graduate program. And in 2015, I visited the UN headquarters for the first time when I went for the NYU eminent to New York City. And I really loved, the whole vibe of New York City, of course. But then when I visited the UN headquarters, that was something very, I would say, very attractive to me. I was like, this is the place I want to come and work in. So then, fast forwarding to 2016, I applied for different applications to different universities. Most of them, the acceptance that I got, they were from United Kingdom. But I only applied to 2 universities in New York City. That was St. John's and the New School at that time, and I got scholarship for both of them. So I was also being geographically strategic to my goal, that physically the presence of your headquarters is in New York City, so this is where I should be going, even though I had, you can say, more perks in the UK, because the length of the program would have been shorter, 9 months as compared to 2 years in the US, but I was like, my eyes, they were set on the price, so I'll really get into the system. So after spending 1 year for my master's, I applied for an internship with the Permanent Mission of Pakistan to the UN, and that's where I got to work with Ambassador Rabeea Khalid. I learned that how the UN system actually works, and that is when I realized that the differences of how practically UN works and what we read in the books, it's different. And also what we teach in our institutes about these MUNs, how the rules and procedures they work, they're actually different than what we're taught. Sometimes we miss out on the technical details while teaching about the structure or the rules and procedures or meanings. So those are the things I was learning as adapting, and that was my first foot in the door. And after that, my master's, it was proceeding on the side, then I made that choice that somehow I need to stay connected to the system, even though those were internships. distance, but ultimately I would find my home there. Ultimately, I will find a permanent position that's worthy enough. And then later on, I worked with the news channel at Settlement Headquarters, where I worked as an international correspondent, and that's when I covered the first ever United Nations General Assembly session. That is where I got to meet some of my favorite and inspirational leaders as well. For example, in 2018, I got to meet the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, and at the time I was starstruck because the poise and the elegance with which he dealt with back in time, that really inspired me, and the qualities that he had as a leader. So that was one of the memorable moments that I can recall from that time. And then later on, I worked with permanent mission given to the UN, and later on with the UN Environment Program, I was their community outreach. And I remember that at the time, the situation for international students in the US back in 2018 or 19 was not very favorable. Even like to have an on-campus job to fulfill your finances, that was really tough. And same was the situation with off-campus. And I remember that at the time, I was hustling and managing 3 things at a time. One was, of course, my master's program, other was an on-campus internship with New York Public Interest Research Group, and the third was the internship with the UN with the permanent mission of the young to the UN. So I remember that, the passion and basically the dream to actually work at the UN, that kept me going. And at the time, I would say I did have more energy as compared to now. So I still recall that how was I able to do it all, but I did it. And through hard work, I think I did have the fruit of that labor later on in life. And now it was almost the time for graduation, and one of my biggest fears was to be unemployed even after having completed my master's. And while I was volunteering at the headquarters, someone told me about this opportunity at the Department of Global Communications. So I went there, I applied, I went through the written stage of the application, and then came the time for the interview. And by the grace of God, I was able to pass that interview. And basically, I was hired for a permanent position with the UN. But just when you see that your dream or your goal for which you worked throughout your life, it's at the palm of your hand, I had to face another challenge. And that was when I went to the international office of my university. At the time, I had switched to Brooklyn College, the City University of New York. When I went to the international office, I was like, I have my appointment letter, I applied at work, so I need to start working while completing my master's. They were like, this is such a crucial time, you're in your last semester, and it is not possible for you to take on this opportunity. And at that time, I did not know what to do. I was in a state of complete shock that a thing for which I've worked for almost for the past 3 years, it's right in front of me, and now I cannot take it. I still remember, I called my mother, I was crying, and she was like, have the buckle, have patience. If something that's meant for you, it will find its way back to you. If you started something, complete your master's, and if this job is meant to be, it will happen. And later on, in the month of April in 2018, I got a call from the hiring department that had me on the roster that there's another opening. Would you like to join in now? They were like, your paperwork would take around about 2 months, and that would be the time for your graduation. So that happened, and I remember before I even graduated on 28th May 2019, I had this current position locked down, and that was a sigh of relief that after all of these years of hard work and challenges, I finally got to be where I wanted to be. And just when you see that things are going fine, they're going smooth, I've been enjoying working at the UN. I get to meet people from different walks of life. If I'm dealing with 100 people per day, that means they're from different nationalities, from different cultures. And while living there and talking to those people, I realized how diversity, it is such a beautiful thing. The things that in this world we fight on our differences. But while living there and working in that environment, I realized how beautiful diversity is. That all of the cultures, they have so much to contribute to the world. They have so much elegance that they bring on the table. And so all of that that's been going on for the past 5 years, and time to time I do visit my family in Pakistan as well. And I still remember when I decided to go abroad for my master's. As my parents, they broke the news to my extended family and other acquaintances. They were like, you only have your one daughter. I'm just quoting the words of the अगर आप इसको भी बताएं तो आपके पास कौन रहेगा? आप क्या यहाँ पर अकेले बैठ के कभी और चुना मैंने ये बेटी है, वो भी अकेली है, और प्रसुति में आपने इसकी शादी भी करी, इसको बहुत मुश्किल होगी दोबारा से सिस्टम में कैसे एडजस्ट करेंगे? But my parents, they basically blocked out those moments, and so did I. I believed in a greater cause for which I worked for, and ultimately the hard work and determination did pay off. And now coming back to the current state and how and why I'm in Pakistan right now. So at the start of this year, in January, I basically got interviewed for another position at the UN, which is higher than this one. So I remember that was a very happy day. I was coming from work, and as I was crossing the pedestrian, as the light was for a go sign for me to go, out of nowhere, I was wearing basically a hoodie, and my peripheral view was blocked. There was a full-speed motorbike that hit me on the right knee, and I became unconscious for most part of my senses, and basically when the motorbike hit me, I flew away on the other part of the road. I had my laptop and everything that was away, and I could not basically move my right leg. It was in a lock, and I was screaming with extreme pain to the point that my roommate, she came out from our apartment because the pitch of my screams, it was really extremely loud at the time. So I was rushed into an emergency room. I stayed there for 6 days, and at the time I could not really tell my family because I did not want to give them a heart attack. So I told them after 6 days, and I was basically, my leg was in a cast for almost 3 months. I was bedbound, and then after almost a week, I told my family. Then my mother, she came in a hurry to New York, and then she brought me here. And while coming here in February, those 3 months, they were really the toughest because I lost a sense of purpose because I was so used to that robotic lifestyle or juggling or hustling every day that sometimes when you're slowed down, when there is a shift in your lifestyle, you cannot accept that. So, but sometimes it's Allah's way of telling you that you need to stop, you need to rest, you need to slow down. We cannot be controlling each and every aspect or each and every moment of our life. Sometimes we have to let it be. We have to trust Allah. We have to let things unfold naturally how they're supposed to be. So of course, while being here, bed down for almost 3 months, I did lose a sense of purpose, and I was like, my life is over. I lost such a great opportunity. I could have been promoted. But eventually, while staying with my parents and staying with my loved ones, I did heal mentally and physically. And then I thought that this country, which has given me so much, I should also repay it in some way or in one way or the other, because it's very important to stick to your roots. Whenever your roots are weak, you cannot stand tall. And while staying here, meeting different people, especially the youngsters, people who want to be in some sort of a similar career arena as me, I learned that there is a need for opportunity, and there is a need for motivation, and there is a need for proper guidance to our youth. There are many other people out in the world who are more talented, more hard working than me. But the reason they're unable to get those opportunities because they lack the proper guidance, or they lack the proper strategy or vision to get where they want to be. So while being here, I got invited by different think tanks, different news channels regarding sharing my journey and my role at the UN. So while staying here, I was that I have to help the youth. I do have to help other Pakistanis out here who are in a similar position like me, so that whatever challenges I went through, sometimes if the threshold of those challenges, if that can be reduced for them, so that if I can make their life in one way or the other easier for them to achieve those goals. So then I started working and exploring different opportunities in Pakistan, and then recently I was invited by the Prime Minister's youth program in Pakistan, and while sharing my vision that I do want to help youth and youngsters in Pakistan through a process of application and rigorous interviews, I got selected to be part of the National Youth Council in Pakistan. So I look forward to formally work with the youth and young generation of Pakistan to help them achieve their dreams, like how I did mine, and it was not easy. And just a few takeaways that I would like to share with all of you, that if you can dream it, you can achieve it. There would be people who would tell you it's impossible, because I remember when I was 15 years old, when I shared the dream that I want to work at the UN, and I was still studying in Faisalabad, they were like, okay, don't Faisalabad se kaise gaओ, यहाँ पे another competition है, reference system चलता है. But I had to block those voices, and I had to focus on something bigger than those challenges. You are bigger than your obstacles, you're bigger than your challenges. So you are what you think yourself to be. And if you have the right intention, right determination, and consistency, then you will get there where you want to be. And after that, sky's the limit. And just like many other people say as well, that the actual failure is not when you fall down. It is when you stop trying, when you give up. That is the actual failure. But if you keep trying, if you be consistent, then you are successful. And success is not always when you're given an award or a trophy. It's about overcoming your fears, overcoming your challenges, and becoming who you want to be. So thank you so much for having me. And I would love to connect with all of these people. If you'd like to have my email for guidance in the future, I'll be happy to help. Thank you.